Once again, extreme MAGA Republicans in the House have demonstrated their complete and utter inability to govern. We are in the middle of a Republican civil war that has been ongoing for months and now threatens a catastrophic government shutdown that will hurt everyday Americans, hurt children, hurt military men and women, hurt veterans, hurt seniors, hurt women, hurt families, hurt the economy. And there is absolutely no reason that we should be facing a government shutdown at this moment. There is a bipartisan continuing resolution making its way through the Senate that would ensure the government doesn't shut down, that funding is available to meet the needs of the American people, that is free of any partisan, poison pill, ideological amendments, and that provides support for everyday Americans who've been hit hard by extreme weather events and for the Ukrainian war effort that is important to freedom and democracy and truth across the world. The Senate bipartisan continuing resolution will emerge in that institution in the next few days and be sent over to the House of Representatives. The only way forward is for House Republicans to put the bipartisan continuing resolution that emerges from the Senate on the House floor for an up or down vote. And if House Republicans were to do that, we can avoid a catastrophic extreme MAGA Republican government shutdown. It's not that complicated. And all we're asking House Republicans to do is to keep their word and adhere to the agreement that they themselves reached, voted for, and negotiated in May, connected to their threat to default on America's debt. Why are we in this situation where extreme MAGA Republicans seem determined to shut the government down? It's because the Republicans and the right-wing ideologues and the extremists in the House of Representatives want to cut Social Security, slash public school funding, and criminalize abortion care. That is their ransom demand. And if everybody else in the House and in the Senate and within the Biden administration declines to pay it, they've basically made clear we're shutting the government down. And people will be hurt. And it's irresponsible, but it's in their DNA. House Democrats met earlier today, and we are unified in the position that we support the continuing resolution that is working its way through the Senate and prepared, ready, willing, and able to vote for it the moment it crosses over to our side of the Capitol. We just need House Republicans to do the right thing by the American people and put the bipartisan continuing resolution on the floor of the House of Representatives for an up or down vote. What is the alternative? They tried a partisan continuing resolution and they failed. And there is no way out of their Republican civil war. The only path forward is to partner with House Democrats in a bipartisan way, and we're prepared to do just that. It's now my honor to yield to our distinguished whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader. And I want to join in taking a moment to honor and remember Senator Feinstein. And just wanted to add to her incredible legacy is also one as a role model to women. The first woman mayor of San Francisco, part of the 1992 Year of the Woman, and someone who has really smashed ceilings, broken ground for those of us who get to follow and stand on her shoulders. And what a contrast to that legacy of service to what we're witnessing in the House today. Another wasted day on voting on an extreme right-wing bill with zero chance of becoming law. Another day of fighting among the MAGA Republicans. Another day wasted talking about deficits while failing to take up the bipartisan agreement we already entered into that would reduce the deficit by $1.5 trillion. So now, weeks after political theater, we are one day from a disastrous Republican government shutdown. So let's take a moment to talk about the people who are truly at the center of this story. It's not Speaker McCarthy, it's not Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's not Matt Gaetz, it's the service members who will work without a paycheck. It's the firefighters who will be furloughed. It's the early educators who will have to leave their classroom. It's the moms and parents who will be left scrambling for childcare. The MAGA shutdown comes down to this: House Republicans have chosen extremism over everyday people. They've chosen abortion bans over baby formula. They've chosen teacher layoffs over the well-being of our students. They've chosen cuts to Social Security, cuts to Head Start, cuts to the VA over a commitment to our continued economic recovery. The House has been hijacked by extremists obsessed with making life harder and more expensive for working people. It does not have to be this way. This impending disaster can still be averted if just a handful of Republicans would stop listening to Donald Trump, if just a few members would honor their oath of office and say enough is enough. It's not too late to work for our country and not against it. It's not too late to come back from the edge. It is not too late to pass a bipartisan continuing resolution and enact the agreement we reached and voted on back in May. But if House Republicans choose to inflict this needless pain, this needless chaos, if they choose to force the shutdown, I can tell you this: the American people know who's at fault, and they are not going to forget that this was brought to us by extremists in the House GOP. And with that, it is my pleasure to yield to our caucus chair, Pete Aguilar.
Thank you, Whip Clark. I appreciate your words about our senior senator as well, and to the leader who echoes the sentiments of the Democratic caucus. I joined members of the California delegation and Senator Schumer and Leader McConnell on the Senate floor this morning. Some of the senators made tributes to Senator Feinstein, and it struck me that my senator, Alex Padilla, also recounted how Senator Feinstein was one of his first bosses in politics. And to the opportunity to get to serve alongside her. She was one of my earliest supporters, quite honestly, in California politics. And the fact that she would help out a young guy from the Inland Empire, from outside of LA, outside of San Francisco, and support me in what was a crowded primary meant a lot to me. And she talked a lot about holding up young leaders, men and women, to succeed and to follow in her footsteps. Earlier today, or just a few hours ago, the Democratic caucus met, and Leader Jeffries and Whip Clark are doing an amazing job in keeping our caucus together, talking about lowering costs, creating good-paying jobs, and building safer communities. Every step of the way, House Democrats have put people over politics. And it's been impacted by extreme MAGA Republicans who continue to have the shutdown on their minds. That is their focus. That is who they are and what they believe. And as Whip Clark said, this is about women and children who will go without food assistance, service members who will have to work without pay, law enforcement officers and Border Patrol agents being sent a clear message that they are not a priority for House Republicans. The people are losing faith in their government because they look at our own nation's capital and they see the Republican extremism and the chaos that has driven the other side. It doesn't have to be like this. In fact, this was all completely avoidable, is what Clark mentioned. There's a simple and common sense solution that the leader articulated. There is a bipartisan path. House Republicans can work with House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and Senate Republicans to do what's right on behalf of the American people. We can live up to the agreements and the discussions that we have had to work together. That is the only path out, is to have a bipartisan solution. Republicans need to work with us to end this MAGA madness. It's our only path forward. Leader Jeffries.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. Questions?
I think that one of the most likely outcomes of putting the Senate bipartisan CR on the floor is that potentially any of these 20 members that just voted against it could oust Speaker McCarthy from his job. Have y'all had conversations within your caucus about saving the Speaker? I know that one member of yours referenced that Whip Clark, you talked about the fact that there would need to be concessions. What would those look like? I mean, what are your conversations around that?
We met for about an hour and 15 minutes today. The subject did not come up, and I don't expect that it will come up because our focus right now is making sure we avoid a catastrophic shutdown that will have real, adverse, painful consequences on the American people, including making sure that children and women and infants receive food necessary, life-sustaining food necessary. That will be taken away from them. Service members will be forced to work without pay. You've got small businesses unable to receive loans necessary to continue their entrepreneurship. The consequences are endless. So, quite honestly, our focus right now is on doing everything that we can to avoid this extreme MAGA Republican shutdown. And to the extent that there will be efforts subsequent to any resolution of this as part of the ongoing Republican Civil War, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Has there been any back-channel talk with Kevin McCarthy and Republicans about what to do? Because obviously we get to this point. Anything, any conversations? I know you talked to the Problem Solvers Caucus a few days ago about their plan, but is there anything out there that's not obvious to us right now that you can share that says, okay, there might be a pathway out of this cul-de-sac?
There is only one path out of the reckless Republican effort to shut down the government, which is to take the bipartisan continuing resolution that is working its way through the United States Senate, and when it arrives at the House, put it on the floor for an up or down vote, and everyone in this town knows the bill will pass. And when it does, we can avoid the extreme MAGA Republican shutdown.
But to be clear, no back-channel talks, nothing saying Kevin McCarthy said I have to get through this vote and then we can come back and talk. And
everything that
like that
I've said publicly, I've communicated privately to Speaker McCarthy. Anyone else? Okay.
I know you say
We'll get beyond the front row in a moment. Yeah, thanks.
I know you said we'll cross bridges when we come to it, but we're pretty much right there at the shutdown, and I know you're waiting for the Senate to bring its bill over. Did the subject of a discharge petition come up in the caucus? And is that your current thing that you would we know that McCarthy has said he will not bring up that bill. So are you thinking of doing that, that would be the discharge petition?
Yeah, all procedural options are on the table, and that includes a discharge petition, and we'll see where we land as early as this weekend.
Sir, you're talking about asking Republicans to keep their word. What makes you think you can still trust Speaker McCarthy after these past few weeks, after the way the appropriations process has gone?
Well, House Democrats are aligned with Senate Democrats. I don't want to let Pete and Catherine weigh in on this one. House Democrats are aligned with Senate Democrats. The two of us are aligned with Senate Republicans. All of us are aligned with President Biden in sticking to the spending agreement that was reached in May as part of the resolution of the GOP manufactured default crisis. all four of those political entities, House Democrats, Senate Republicans, Senate Democrats, the Biden administration, we're all aligned. The extreme MAGA Republicans are the only ones who are on an island right now, and they can't even get their act together amongst themselves because they're in the middle of a civil war. And one group wants to be more extreme than the other group. And so even their effort to pass a continuing resolution amongst themselves failed spectacularly. So what's the only option? The only option is for House Republicans to partner with House Democrats, as well as our colleagues in the Senate who are all aligned with each other, to move a bipartisan continuing resolution to the floor so we can avoid this catastrophic shutdown. That's the most obvious approach, and it is the only way forward.
Yeah, when we talk about trust, there is not much trust. What we had, if we go back to just 4 short months ago, was a manufactured default crisis, holding our economy as we are beginning to recover from this pandemic, putting the pieces with the Biden administration in place so that everyone has opportunity in this economy and we can drive down costs. They put out a bill in the end of April that was as bad as the CR we just saw them vote on today. And the picture, they are willing to take everything, whether it is Social Security and Medicare, a national abortion ban, removing teachers out of the classroom, to pursue this extreme agenda. And we met them with this manufactured crisis and said, we want to put the American people first. And so we're going to come to an agreement that Speaker McCarthy negotiated with the President of the United States. 314 votes in the House of Representatives. The ink was not dry when Speaker McCarthy again said to the American people, I don't choose you, I choose Marjorie Taylor Greene and the extreme part of my conference. So the answer is right in front of the House GOP. And it is why, as the leader said, they are isolated now in this, because everyone else understands we have to stick with that agreement. The blueprint for moving forward, which was a compromise, is right there for the taking. And it is only Speaker McCarthy who is refusing to lead his caucus in that direction.
I completely agree. And what I would say is, what I've said from this podium before during that process as a member of the Appropriations Committee is what I said today. This was completely avoidable. We had an agreement. We could have worked through it. And instead, Speaker McCarthy chose to listen to the most extreme voices in his conference. And as a result, to your question, Nick, I think that there are huge concerns whether even if he agreed to something, it could be believed. And so I think for us and our members, it's going to take, a group of Republicans in order to, come to the table and have an agreement. And to Lisa's question, we don't lack legislative vehicles in order to solve this crisis. What we lack are real legislators on the Republican side who are willing to stand up to Marjorie Taylor Greene and the extreme voices in their conference to actually solve this problem and to prevent cuts that hurt our kids in their classroom, that take food away from families that need it. That's what we are talking about. That's what we are fighting for. And those are the real struggles that we have under this dome.
Last weekend there was House Republicans, notably Congressman Molinaro, Congressman Lawler, who said that if this didn't work, if Republicans couldn't push through something, that they would come and they would consider a discharge petition would be an option for them. Have there been any entreaties to them, talking to them, and where are they right now? Have you spoken to them?
That's a great question. These so-called moderate members of the Republican conference have been missing in action. All talk, no action. Because there is a vehicle that is in front of us right now to come together with the Democratic members of the House to avoid a catastrophic government shutdown. There are a variety of different procedural vehicles that are available to us, including a discharge petition, one of which that is live, and that all we would need are 6 Republicans to partner with us, and we can move legislation to the floor that would end this GOP government shutdown and this national nightmare for the American people. But all we've seen from the very beginning of this Congress are so-called moderate members doing their best to project reasonableness, but every opportunity they've been given to partner in a bipartisan way, they run to the extremes. Hopefully that will change in the next day or so up against a government shutdown that will hurt people in New York and all across the country. But I'm not holding my breath.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. You've spoken about the impact of a shutdown on the American people, but included in that group are the staff that work for you all. Can you speak to the conversations that you all are having with your teams that you're advising your members on now that guidance has come out? And can you just speak to the morale and how your teams are doing, how House Democratic staff is doing right on the brink of a shutdown?
Well, we're very thankful for our staff. They are hardworking, they're dedicated, they're committed, and they are in the roles that they serve in for all of the right reasons. And our staff members understand that this is a moment of great challenge and crisis, and that we're working to get through it for the people that we all collectively are privileged to serve. And it's my expectation that their morale will continue to be high, because staffers on the Hill are not in this role for self-aggrandizement. They're in this role for selfless reasons to help out everyday Americans and make their life better. And in the caucus meeting that we had earlier today, the top Democrat on the House Administration Committee, Joe Morelli, did talk through a lot of the logistical dynamics of a possible shutdown. Hopefully we'll avoid that shutdown, but we're going to continue to be there for our staff in every way possible. Billy?
When's the last time you talked to the speaker about this impasse, and what did you guys say? What did you say to him?
I've said to him privately everything that I've said publicly, which is the only path forward is to put the bipartisan continuing resolution that is coming out of the Senate shortly on the floor of the House for an up or down vote, because that is the only way forward. I talked to him late last night. I expect to talk to him at some point in the next hour or so.
Do you think that lawmakers should take a salary if there is a government shutdown?
I think every individual member is going to have to make that decision on their own.
Last time, the reason you got the debt ceiling bill on the floor is Democrats were willing to vote for the rule, which normally don't do. If they bring up a rule again and Republicans won't vote for it, the Democrats commit to vote for the rule to bring a bipartisan bill to the floor.
I mean, we're ready, willing, and able to vote substantively on legislation that would avoid a catastrophic default. In terms of the procedural mechanisms that may be available to us, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Let me yield to Catherine.
Yeah, I will say about that that's another example of this isn't a typical partisan fight. This is the extreme MAGA Republicans versus the American people. And we have shown time and again, we're going to fight for them. Those are the voices that we are bringing to this situation, to this debate. And it's not about bailing out our colleagues. It's about making sure we are doing right by families at home.
Pete, last questions?
Can we ask you about the flooding in New York City before you end here, please?
Okay, well, I'll end it.
I have a non-shutdown question for Congressman Aguilar. The last committee that you served on in such a public capacity was the January 6th committee. Yesterday we did the first impeachment inquiry from your Republican colleagues. Thoughts on how that went?
I think you folks have written about exactly how that went. What the public saw was an absolute nightmare. The fact that Republicans continue to proceed without facts and their own witnesses are saying that they don't have any evidence to proceed just says a lot. We appreciate and lift up Ranking Member Raskin, obviously part of the connective tissue between that process and that committee and this one. We trust that he and the committee members who did an amazing job asking questions of witnesses, looking to get to the truth, but clearly poking holes in this argument. And there is no there. They have no evidence linking Vice President Biden, President Biden to any high crime or misdemeanor or any issue at all. And so I think that's I think the American public sees the split screen of what we did and how methodical we were in answering questions and in working through the material, and they see this Republican chaos for what it is, and that very much mirrors where we are on the shutdown, the manufactured shutdown crisis too.
We said from the very beginning of this Congress that we will work together to find common ground with the other side of the aisle whenever and wherever possible, but also fight against their extremism whenever necessary. And unfortunately, my Republican colleagues have refused to find ways to partner together far too often and instead continue to double and triple down on their extremism. Yesterday was a big example of the charade of the illegitimate impeachment inquiry that they've launched. 2 days before a government shutdown, they hold a hearing where their own witnesses testify that there's nothing in the record to suggest that President Biden committed an impeachable offense. Their own witnesses. So this is another example of Republicans governing in fantasy land, bowing down to the extremists in their party and being distracted from taking care of business for everyday Americans. We should be focused on dealing with building a healthy economy. We should be focused on solving problems for everyday Americans. We should be focused on quality of life issues. We should be focused on public safety. We should be focused on making sure that our children receive a high quality public education. But the extreme MAGA Republicans are focused on trying to drive their conspiracy theories and their right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people, and it's a shame.
Can I ask you about this kind of end of days flooding we're having in New York City and all the risk to life and limb there, please?
Well, we certainly are monitoring the situation carefully, and the governor and the mayor, the congressional delegation are prepared to mobilize all available resources, one, to make sure that that there's no loss of life, that we address the risks that still appear to exist in New York City, and that we continue to find ways to deal with the climate crisis that is afflicting the nation and the world, because if we fail to do so, these extreme weather events will continue and intensify, and that's not good for anyone. Thank you, everyone.